Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi.
These days, you can't miss Alex and Ani. The ubiquitous 8-year-old jewelry company is providing Rhode Island with much-needed good news amid double-digit unemployment. In just the last 6 months, the company has expanded its footprint, buying marketing firm Mediapeel and winery Sakonnet Vineyards, opening a chain of cafes and a training center, and making charms for this year's U.S. Olympic team. No wonder Inc. magazine just named them the fastest-growing company in Rhode Island. This week on Executive Suite, Alex and Ani CEO Giovanni Feroce. Executive Suite, I'm Ted Nesi. Giovanni, thanks for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You know, this is one of the companies people most wanted me to have on the show and discuss because you guys are in the news constantly lately, just on the front page last week. I want to get a little sense of how the company got to the point it is today where we're hearing about it so much. You became CEO last year, but Alex and Ani, from what I've read, was founded, the way to say, back in 2004?
It was founded in 2004.
When did it sort of blow up into the phenomenon we're seeing now?
Well, just to update you, I actually came on board in 2010.
Oh, okay.
So it was April 2010, so
okay.
A little over 2 years ago.
Yep.
And you know, the bottom line is Carolyn and I you know, got together and really understood where she wanted to take the company. And I literally asked her, you know, what size company do you want? And she had the option to, you know, stay smaller and kind of just think of herself, or you know, do what is the mission of the company, and that is you know, help mankind. And as maybe lofty an effort as it might sound to some people, that is what we do on a daily basis. So when you set that as a goal, it needs to be met with you know, a very large effort. And so the decisions we make, the reinvestment, all of that is in order to attain that goal.
You've presided over pretty explosive growth at the company. Revenue a bit under $5 million in 2010, $18 million nearly in 2011. What are you looking at this year? Do you have a forecast? Can you offer that?
You know, I publicly say where we're at is likely to be over 50 million.
You still on track for that this year? 50?
You know, I publicly am being conservative. Let's say if I say 50.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's just.
We've already doubled last year's revenue.
It's astonishing, that kind of growth, and it just that gets to the heart of it. What is it? Just, you know, I mentioned to you before we started, my girlfriend, she had the bracelets on. We were talking about this the other night, and she said people just like them. They're appealing. I know that's not all you're doing now, but what do you attribute it to at heart? Is it just right place, right time?
No, it has to do with the authenticity of the product and the designer. So Carolyn Raphalian, you know, is making product that she believes brings out the best in individuals and allows them to find the inner beauty, the love that they want to bring out to the world. And how they do that is by telling people their story or having reminders of what is important. And so we create products which part of the effort involves very significant research and development into ancient cultures and theories and all of the symbology that ultimately is pulled through the product. And so what one would wear might seem the same as the person next to them, but why they're wearing it is what makes it different. And so we feel very strongly that the design process allows for us to move on to other extensions very quickly.
What sells the best? What's your #1 product?
The Path of Life.
The Path of Life, what is that?
Yeah, basically it's your willingness to take on life's twists and turns, and so it can be appropriate for a new college graduate who's given it as a gift, or someone who might be in their 40s and have other, you know, challenges that their best friend, when they gift it to them, reminds them that it's okay, and just keep on going, take on life's twists and turns.
Now, you and Carolyn Raphalian, you met, from the stories I read, at a URI reunion in '09. You met up, or you might have known each other before that. And a few months later, you were in Rhode Island. You visited her there, and that visit has sort of set you on the path to becoming a CEO. I'm wondering, what did you see when you went, before you were working with Alex and Ani, that really struck you as this is a company I want to be a part of?
Yeah, first and foremost, the evening of the reunion event, you know, allowed for us to kind of talk a little bit. And so the next day, as I was clicking through photos of Alex and Ani, I recognized very quickly that it had brand potential. Mm-hmm. So being in the optical industry, I was looking at potentially licensing it as a brand that I could put on eyewear.
Sure.
When we further had our discussions, then I realized again the authenticity, and I cannot stress that enough. We're not here thinking that, okay, there's an opening for some sort of business play, and so let's fill the gap. This is Carolyn being Carolyn, and it's her bringing these beautiful products to the world, and the acceptance is again very authentic. The people buying them are buying them for a reason.
Now this goes back to my cynicism as a business reporter, maybe, from which I feel bad after those lofty goals, but how do you avoid becoming a fad? I've heard a lot of people say, partly because they're so excited to see a company doing well in Rhode Island. One person said to me, they remember Beanie Babies got huge, and then all of a sudden they just weren't as huge, and they weren't selling as many. Do you just sort of, are you going to take it as it comes? Do you sort of have a plan for how to make this a lasting part of the marketplace?
Sure, it's a lifestyle brand. So, the statements I make are bold, but they're bold for a reason. We are very experienced people. We have, efforts in place and reinvestment in place in order to build a lifestyle brand. So my target is Ralph Lauren. My target is Tory Burch. So when you look at, all of the products that we have soon available to us as a potential extension, it's again part of pulling through the design, the authenticity, the research, the hard work. And soon you'll pull up a Alex and Donnie comforter, or you'll sit in an Alex and Donnie chair or a coffee table or whatever you have. Some of those obviously are pretty apparent, such as handbags and belts and all of those things. But just understand this is just the launch product. So we'll always be known for it. That's what moves our message right now. But soon you will be across the board with any and all.
That's why you're so focused on saying it's a lifestyle brand. You're not saying we're a jewelry maker. That's an important part of who you are and where you started, but that's not how you see it.
I spent the first year making sure every time I saw the word jewelry, we pulled it. I do not sell jewelry, and nor does Carolyn create jewelry. What she does is create positive energy through symbology, through research, through beautiful design, and of course part of that does have fashion as a component, and so you'll see collections which complement the core product, and that'll continue to be part of the process. But the other thing to keep in mind is the sincerity in which we're doing things. So we're here ensuring that we're building a pillar business of the community. That was one of my personal goals, so that when you mentioned the other big businesses in the state, CVS, Hasbro, G-Tech, that Alex and Donnie would be up there. And
let me ask you on that. Having that goal, which I'm sure people at home love the idea of, could that hold you back as a business because you're committed to Rhode Island, where maybe it would be cheaper? Maybe there's positive energy in Alabama, and you could build things there. How about that?
Well, I think we'll bring the positive energy through our product in a retail setting. But it's an excellent question, what you say. But the fact is, for us, it's part of how we believe business should be built. So I'm not shy in telling you that I don't like the way business was run or the decisions that have been made or executed in the last 30 years. I think it's been a complete aberration for our society to export jobs, to export all of the lifestyle that we were used to because of decisions that just looked at the bottom line. So we focus on a triple bottom line. Okay, it's economic, we're here to make money. It is environmental, so we use products that are recycled. And it is social, so our Charity by Design division is constantly giving back. But we do so as part of a business environment. We're not just stroking checks. So there's a relationship there.
All right, we have to take a break, but lots more to ask Giovanni Feroce of Alex and Ani when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Our guest this week, Giovanni Feroce, CEO of Alex and Ani, which at this point needs no introduction. Now let's talk about expansion. Lately, every week I look and you guys are buying something new, and I want to walk through a couple of the acquisitions you made lately to sort of explain how it fits in as you see the picture.
Sure.
The first one that I noticed immediately was Media Appeal, which was Anthony Gemma's marketing firm, the congressional candidate. What was the thinking there? How does that fit in?
Well, two main reasons for doing that. Number one was just on a pure economic play. If you understand media buying, when it comes to percentages, let's just say using the industry rule, which is about 15%. So I was looking at how much money we were going to spend this year, and going forward, and it just made sense that we own our own media company, and just the savings alone could pay for it. So that was economically. And then from a production standpoint, just having that capability, I felt really allowed us to capture our history. So as we grow. And what that also does, I guess there's a third component, which is economic as well. It aligned our B2B customers, our wholesale accounts, so that we would all have the same content, and we could respond very quickly to someone who wanted to put an ad out in Buffalo, New York, and make sure it's the same one that we have, and also pass on the savings to them so they could buy more.
Another one, Teas and Javas, a new line of cafes, food, a notoriously tough segment of the market to be in. I just saw one open in Wayland Square. I know you have more coming. What's the idea there?
Okay, so we recognized very quickly that the lines were not going away. Some people, were literally outside the door. And we wanted to create a comfortable environment for them to continue to enjoy the experience. And so with our product, we have a very special situation where there's a pre and a post discussion to the purchase. So someone will talk about what they're there for, and then once they purchase it, they'll continue the conversation. So we wanted to give them an environment that they could sit in and talk about. And then when it comes to the actual products themselves, we felt there was an opening. I looked around, we all know the 800-pound gorilla, the Starbucks out there and everything else, and I looked around and it just seemed pretty blah. It's the same thing. And so we decided to go with what's called a coffee bar experience. And so with that, we have exceptional foods, all made locally. The sandwiches, they're literally sliced, the meats as you can order them, and the pastries come from the best places. So and coffee also here from Mills Coffee, etc. And the environment itself is a little bit more upbeat.
And fitting right in with that, Sakana Vineyard. Now you just have purchased, which I can see that fitting in. Explain to me the thinking there.
Yeah, exactly. So it does, Teas and Javas does come with a liquor license experience. We don't sell drinks per se, but beer and wine and some specialty coffees. But again, when you look at the opportunity, so you had a business that was for sale in the area. You had us in a situation where we want to reinvest in Rhode Island, in the community. And so I looked at it and passed it by Carolyn, and she is in love with the land. That's part of who she is, and she's just going to be a great keeper of the community when it comes to Sakana. And as a business, we will run it, but Carolyn will own it as her little haven to continue to be creative and bring great products to the world. And when it comes also to Sakana, I think it is so special, 170 acres on the water like that, that you have to take care of that. And so, I read some comments here and there. People think I might be off the page a little bit, but I'm like, well, what else do you want us to do? Like buy a super yacht or something? I don't, hopefully they're happy that we're putting it back in.
Right, and I guess one question. I mean, you must be throwing off a lot of free cash if you can afford to fund, these. I think it was a bit over $8 million for Sakana Vineyards. I mean, but these are financially sustainable decisions for Alex and I to make.
They are. I mean, and that's part of again the strategic plan. I think one has to understand a little bit about my background when it comes to planning. We spoke a little bit offline. I come from United States Central Command. I understand strategic and operational and tactical
24 years, I believe, in the U.S. Army Reserve and then on active duty. Exactly.
And so, when I look at a plan, or I built a strategic plan, you fill it in, and then you transition. I mean, look at the latter part of the efforts in Iraq and other places. I mean, there were many of us who were trying to replace, bullets with words, and so we moved to strategic communication. So you're not always engaging in the same manner. And so, I believe strongly that Alex and Donnie has a wonderful business model, and now that model is going throughout the world. I've just signed deals with the Caribbean, 26 island nations, cruise ships.
Hope you get to go down to sign it.
Yeah, someday. I have not, but it should be a requirement. Just did South Africa, Egypt, We're in Spain, Portugal. We had wonderful visitors from Ireland ready to do the UK.
This actually goes to a related question I had for you, which is, you're talking about the expansion of the products into all over the world, and meanwhile you have Seconic coming on, MediaPeer, you explained there. How do you maintain focus across a company that's growing so fast? That seems like it could be a challenge.
Well, the way I do it is it's all about managing talent. So you bring in the experts to do what they do best. So we have Dr. Christian Calwaite, who has more PhDs than I certainly went to school for, and he's managing the international business development. Locally, we've brought on some real top talent, and we're fortunate. People are coming to us who are employed in some cases, in many cases, obviously, executives, others that want to be part of something that is growing. However, that said, Carolyn and I have made a decision to grow our own people. So I don't think there's a company on the East Coast that can mimic our talent development. And with that, I mean, you might go to Silicon Valley on the West Coast or others, and you have a Google or you have some others. But in our case, we want to give a 27-year-old woman the opportunity to manage $40 million. We want to give a young guy the opportunity to manage whatever his portfolio is. And that leads to a comment I often make, which I think right now you can probably grab 20, 25 people within our organization and they can run $50 million companies right now.
All right, well, hopefully all of them will start them too.
Yeah,
Not that you want to lose them.
You hope so.
All right, we have to take another break. When we come back, what does Alex and Ani CEO Giovanni Feroce think of Rhode Island's business climate? Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Our guest this week, Giovanni Feroce, CEO of Alex and Ani. True or false? Rhode Island is a bad place to do business.
I don't believe so.
Why?
Well, I believe that it's individual effort. It requires business planning, requires an understanding of what the opportunity is before you. And as experienced as I am, I think most of what we all view as negatives really apply in all states. Most economic development efforts are cannibalization really of the neighbor or someone in the southeast or what have you, but they don't, the climate is the climate. That said, I think that you need to stop and create an environment where someone knows how to operate in it. You can't keep continuing to move the barometer, so to speak, on the environment. For us, it's this. I know how much I'm supposed to pay in taxes. I know how much it's supposed to cost to open up something, etc. I do not want any legislator or anybody else coming up with some kooky idea that, oh, we should go grab an extra 2% here or 1% there. Just stop where you are, allow us to grow, let us employ people, and then create, a situation where the payroll taxes and other things, consumer goods, other situations where sales tax, etc.
So that's more a call for predictability in policy than anything.
It is. Yeah. It is. I mean, at the end of the day, I look at how much in taxes we've paid. So we've gone from an organization with 23 people in 2004, in 2010, to 374 as of last week. Okay, and hundreds more to come. And so what is that payroll tax contribution? And then you look at the retail environments, both our own 4 stores, 5 actually soon, and other 29 retailers in the state, and all of that activity and the 7% you're collecting on that, et cetera. So there's just a different way to go about growing business, but my comment would be one of this: know what you don't know. Okay, so no matter who you are, from the top all the way through down to the municipal level, let the business leaders grow the environment properly. And that is folks, frankly, from my generation.
Well, you make an interesting point there, and it leads to the next thing I wanted to ask you. We're talking constantly about government policy and its impact on the business climate here, especially with unemployment so high. How much have taxes and regulations in Rhode Island impacted the way Alex and Ani grew and the decisions you make day to day, month to month, especially big decisions there?
Yeah, well, I think for what we do is this. We look at what the environment is, I build the plan accordingly. And again, to reiterate what I said a moment ago, I just don't want it to change. So if I see any type of change, I know there was legislation proposed to, hit our income tax a little bit or other things, that would cause me to react. But other than that, I really don't want any help from anybody. Okay, I don't need an extra $150,000 and move to Quonset Point or anything like that. Okay, just leave us alone. Allow for the conditions that have already been set in place, the enterprise zones that are already there, other things that are there, and then allow us to potentially look at them if we're a growing company. Recently, I've received, some wonderful letters from mayors in the community, others. So sure, if I'm going to open up a distribution center, or we're going to expand out into an additional headquarters for maybe one of the divisional businesses that we have, we can now look at that environment. And that might have been set up back in 1993, but allow us to do that. But I do know what the state needs, and what it needs is an act. Similar to Delaware. In 1981, they passed the Financial Services Act, Governor Pete DuPont. And when he did that, it basically rang a bell and let the world know, hey, come over here, incorporate here. And why do that? Well, what was behind it was what is called a chancery court. It allowed for everyone to play on an equal playing field. So it didn't matter if you were mom and pop and you took on Disney. You had a shot at getting a favorable outcome. We can do the same thing. Look at all across the board, all the areas that we can do better in, make one comprehensive piece of legislation, and then pass the act. And in this case, you could be on the nightly news, you could be on CNN, Fox, all that stuff, and simultaneously be on ESPN, because you can say, coming off the Schilling debacle, the state of Rhode Island has done the following, and just let the world know. This is the new place to do business. We can do it, but you have to allow the people who know how to do it to have the input.
We're getting up against the end of the show, but you mentioned 1993, and that's when you were a state senator. People might not realize for, I think, one term as a state senator, and then you were a commissioner of the lottery. Did you ever think about getting into politics again?
No.
Definitely not?
You never say never, but certainly not in the near future, and likely not at all, because I understand where I play best. And there's a contribution to be made. I've been fortunate, the people of Rhode Island, the people of the United States, you've all spent a lot of money educating me, both through growing up.
About 10 seconds left.
Yeah, growing up in the military, and I just want to give back what I can right now.
All right, well, we'll all be watching the future of Alex and Ani, and no doubt about that. That's all the time we have this week. I want to thank my guest, Giovanni Feroce, for being with me, and I want to thank you for tuning in here on MyRI TV. If you missed it, you can catch it on our website, WPRI.com. I'm Ted Nisi. See you next week.